Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mindset, Money, Success. And I'm your host, Lorraine Marshall. And today I'm going to cover the topic of the emotional energy spiral. And we're going to look at how, when we are in certain periods of trauma, like after a loss, like we go through grief, or after some form of abuse or a traumatic situation that we go through. For example, a bankruptcy, huge debt, or divorce, conflicted divorce. It causes stress and it can cause trauma. Injustice, another thing that can cause huge trauma if you feel you haven't been given justice or been heard. So today what I'm going to do is cover what we can do, how we might dig ourselves out from that once we've experienced the trauma and the grief. So let's start with where people usually are after a situation they've experienced, because a lot of people that I've spoken with, a lot of people I've chatted to online, they always say that where they were after the end of a relationship, for example, is at the bottom left of this emotional energy spiral. And this emotional energy spiral has a borderline middle, which is hopefulness, calm optimism, boredom, and there's a ascending spiral and a descending spiral. And so on the descending spiral, on the bottom left of that spiral, after you've gone through from boredom, overwhelm, fear, insecurity, pessimism, grief and being unsupported, failure, hatred, heartache, rejection, depression and disappointment, despair and discouragement, worthless, humiliation, low self-esteem, victim, unworthy, and shame, at the very bottom left, you have no will to live. Now, this is where a lot of people I've spoken to end up at a point where they've gone through the grieving period or the trauma, how they've lost themselves in that process. I know because I've been through it. So I know where you get to. And on the other side, the right-hand side of the descending emotional spiral, you've got the boredom in the center line. You've got jealousy, frustration, judgment, self-pity, revenge, anger, doubt, depression, impatience, worry, negative self-talk, blame, sorrow, irritation, helplessness, bitterness, dread, guilt, apathy. And the very last thing on that right hand bottom line is death. So that is the negative part of the emotional energy spiral. Now, we can do things to change that situation, but only if we are prepared to do it. Because if we aren't prepared to make a change, then we will stay where we are and nothing changes. So we need to be mindful of where we are right now and where we could be or want to be. And so we need to be thinking around what is it that we really want? And if you can think about that and write it down or even verbalize, what do you really want? Then you've got some goal, you've got some purpose, and you can start to make small steps towards what it is that you really want. So let's have a look at the ascending emotional spiral. So on the left-hand side, going up, it starts with hopefulness. Then you've got curiosity and peace, playful, positive, acceptance, belief, happiness, security, learning, self-love, confidence, positive self-talk, powerful, joy, and patience. Then you've got generous, outward focused, passion, empowerment, empathy, forgiveness, unconditional love at the top on the left-hand side. Now, on the right-hand side, ascending spiral, it starts with calm optimism, serene, pleased, organize, courage, productive, expectation, worthy, cheerful, enthusiasm, gratitude, humility, seek for good, freedom, trust, knowledge, service, abundance, victor, which is near to the top, compassion, radiant, 100% integrity. So the very top of the spiral is 100% integrity. Now, I recently came across an article and a video that talked about the top level of vibration, which is most powerful vibration of all, is truth and integrity, which is the top. And it's been measured by something called the SPAN, SPAN. Now, I can link to that video article in the show notes, as I can't really go through that and explain it at this point. Now, so when we have fallen down this emotional energy spiral because of circumstances outside of our control, or, that something has happened and we can't change what happened, we have to go through the process. We need to be able to think, how can I improve? How can I get out of this situation? How can we deal with the stress that we are now going through? So in order to do that, what we need to think about is starting to lift ourselves out of the low self-esteem, the worthlessness, from the heartache and rejection. So we have to start to think of how we could do that. And one of the things that I did was to look at being creative and to look at how I could use certain things in order to help I didn't have the support network around me. I didn't have the therapy. I didn't have people who could help me to make the decisions that I needed to make, to be honest, because it was very difficult to get the right advice from a position where I was. So I decided to learn some new skills, and I plunged myself into writing and creative writing, and also starting a YouTube channel. And I had no idea how to write a book or how to start a YouTube channel. But it was two things that I decided that I was going to pursue. And so I then created a YouTube channel and started to put short videos out for affirmations. I also started to write my story, and that lifts you out of the negative part, the negative emotions on this spiral, because learning is halfway up the emotional spiral on the left hand side. So that boosts your energy level. All right. So that's one of the things that you can actually look at doing, because it will help you. Now, the other thing that I did a long time back was use the power of forgiveness. Um, a lot of people don't, well, a lot of people don't realize that forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's forgiveness is about yourself. It's about how you can improve your energy level. It's how you can move forward from a situation that you're in. You, know, if there's been a huge betrayal from someone, you know, a massive theft, something that's happened, or, you know, an injustice, and you need to think about how to forgive the actions of the people who've let you down, who've like caused the distress, who's caused the devastation in your life. And that's not about blaming someone. It's actual about decisions other people make that impact you, right? It's not your decision, it's out of your hands. And you need to then think, okay, this happened. So you're not about taking revenge on that person, right? Because you then think, well, how can I get through this? Because if you were in a space of looking for revenge, you're on the downward spiral, which isn't good. It's in that negative cycle of if you're looking at revenge. So the forgiveness part is a massive step forward. Now, in the relationship that I was in, I did that in 2018, thinking that it would help me. And actually, it did help me because I knew I was on a negative spiral down, because I was starting to feel that I needed to numb the pain that I was feeling and the anxiety and the panic attacks. So, in order to do that, I decided I would like go out on an evening. I needed to escape the boredom, basically. So, I needed something to fill that time where I'm not one for sitting in front of TV, for example. So I wanted to be out with other people and talking to people. But when I did start doing that, it meant having a drink and having a drink of alcohol most of the time, because I was numbing the pain and drinking all of the time. Every time I went out, it was wine or beer. So I was getting to a situation where all of a sudden I woke up one morning and it was like a message inside my head saying to me, Lorraine, you're killing yourself slowly. And when I heard that, it was like, yeah, okay, that's right. So that's how I then used the forgiveness law which I'd learned from being in a program with Bob Proctor and the paradigm shift. I'd learned that from there. And that's when I thought, okay, let's see. And I started a forgiveness chant, affirmation, which helped every morning or every night before I slept and every morning when I woke up. I had this statement that I would say to myself in order to help. And after a couple of weeks, it did help to make me feel a lot better and to look at ways of reducing the alcohol consumption for a start, because it's not good for your health, basically. So that was one thing that I did. Now, having this education that I've studied all of the different mindfulness and the universal laws, I've studied over the years, but I've never actually taught anything about it or shared anything about it. And well, I did share a little bit about this with my partner, but he was very negative and didn't actually support my beliefs. It wasn't something that he supported. And so now that I'm single and can do my own thing, and I've learned how to make videos, edit videos, put them onto YouTube. I've learned how to write a book and publish the book. I've learned how to start a podcast, So learning has been part of the whole of the journey. But also, I've been researching things, and I have a lot of research from writing my first book, a lot of research looking into the laws that surround the Spanish laws of gender violence and the English laws on cohabitation, which are very slim because there's hardly anything. And even now, there's no law in place to help women who have been in relationships where they've had, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years living in a relationship and not being married. There's no laws that really protect that relationship if the person you're with should die, the person you're with decides to leave and doesn't help with any financial settlement. There isn't any laws for that. So throughout my research and learning all of that and writing my book to raise awareness, that has been how I moved through this energy spiral. So this is one of the things that you can look at. And once you understand this emotional energy spiral, you can actually move yourself forward by taking positive steps. So there's a little exercise that perhaps you could do because from some of the training I've looked at, say if you're in a situation at the moment where, you're broke, your finances are not in a good order, or, there's other things that are not helping your situation, you could write down all of these things that keep you in that situation. What are those things that keep you there, keep you stuck? Is it your job? Is it your relationships? Is it your environment that you're in, because everyone around you is like negative and gossips and this, that, and the other. So you can write down all of the different things that keep you in this negative situation that you're in. And on the other side of that, you can actually think of all the things that you would prefer. So that instead of, being broke, you want to have financial security. So you could write, yeah, I would like financial security. This is a way forward. And then you can choose. I mean, being broke is hard, isn't it? Being in a financial bind is hard. Being having to work all the hours and not even have enough money at the end of the month. It's hard. On the other hand, you might think, well, doing something and learning something new, taking action on something new, moving towards a goal that you have to start earning more money, that's hard, right? It's the same hard. But what you have to then think, which hard do you want? Because it's not never easy. It doesn't matter if you're going for a goal that you've got to say, right, I want to be earning 3,000 a month. I want to be earning 10,000 a month. You make the goal and it's going to be hard. You might come across haters. You decide to start a YouTube channel, you decide to start a TikTok channel, you're posting on Instagram, for instance, right? To start your own business to earn more income. And then all of a sudden, you've got people who pop up and say negative things and just, why don't you just get a job? Yeah. And then it's like there's going to be people who are going to be haters because that's them. They are not willing to move up, to do something different, to take the risk, to learn something new. And so they stay where they are and stuck. But you don't have to stay there, because if you make the decision to say to yourself, this is what I want to achieve, and take the steps, take the action steps. Yes, you'll probably come up against challenges, but you can overcome the challenges, because it's about being resourceful in order to overcome the challenges. And if you feel fear, then you have to then think, right, okay, can I actually pick up the phone and speak to this person? You might be fearful of doing that. I know when I started my first business back in 2005, I was fearful of picking up the phone. I had a list of telephone numbers in front of me. And though I didn't know who those numbers belonged to, right? Because we had collected those numbers by driving around the streets and looking at where properties were up for rent to students. Now, in 2005, I wasn't a student. I was with a partner and we were wanting to start a business in student lettings so that we could find the tenants, fill the properties, and help the landlords and make commission. All right. So we noticed that most of the properties around where we lived all had A4 pieces of paper in the window or big cards, and then a mobile number scribbled across on the paper. So we were driving around and taking down these numbers. I had this list, and I came back, sat in a little office, and thought, oh, now what do I do? Because we've got all of these numbers of people that I don't know. Now, a long time before that, I'd worked in network marketing, and part of the network marketing training that I'd had was how to make cold calls from telephone numbers, right? that people had given you, right? And so there was scripts. So me sitting in that office in 2005, thinking about what I'd already done in the network marketing that I joined, was right, okay, I need to have some sort of script. So I sat there and wrote down a little couple of paragraphs of like how I could speak to people and what to say. And the first call, I can tell you that my palms were sweating. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? And that's fear, right? And that is the fear. So you've got your list, you've got your phone numbers, and then it was ring one, and then you get somebody who's like, ooh, and they're not interested, and you're like, oh God, and you scratch through the number. So you go to the next one, and you do the same, and you start the talk, and you're very like nice and this, that, and the other, and they might say, oh yes, yeah, yeah, I'm really interested in that, and so then you can say, oh fine, then we have a pack of information. We'd like to send you it. Do you want it by email? Should we send it in the post? Then you can take the details down and send them the information so that they can then decide on whether your business is a fit for what they need, which at that time, when I was starting a student rentals business, was to fill their properties with students, make them money, and make us money in the process. So there's always going to be fears and there's always going to be a hard. What you need to do is choose which hard, okay? Which one do you want to go for? Do you want to stay in the bottom end of this spiral, no will to live, hardly any income, survival mode, or do you want to progress? Do you want to come out of that? Do you want to be in a place of curiosity, a place of financial security? Do you want to be in a place of joy and empowerment and freedom, which is higher up this emotional spiral? Now, if you are saying yes to this, and this is where you want to be, then I have something that I'm going to launch very soon. And if you want to join me in a zero cost, no commitment, free, safe space in a Facebook group, then you can find out all about this launch that I'm going to do very soon. And hope you can join me inside the group so I can share more private information to help you move forward and move out of the no will to live and move higher up the emotional energy spiral by taking some small action steps, learning some new things, and implementing some new things. And this group that I'm opening, it's all about trauma to transformation. And it goes along the lines of master your mindset, multiply your money, and maximize your success. So if you want to join me, I'll leave a link in the show notes so that you can sign up to join me in the Facebook group. And that is where I hope to be delivering on the training that I've spent a lot of money on. And this is going to be my launch. Now, it's still a work in progress. It's new. So I want to hear from you as well. What is the things that you would like to help you? Where were you before? Where are you now? Are you still stuck? And that's why I decided to make this private Facebook group. Okay. So hope you'll join me and um Thanks for listening and tuning in, and hope to see you on the inside of my group. So this is the podcast for today, for this week, and bye for now.